Welcome back to Community Vertigo. It's been a while. My name is Emily, and I'm here with Tierney and Paulina to discuss English pop star Charli XCX's sixth studio album, Brat, which was released on June 7th, 2024, unleashing the world of hyperpop and electropop to more mainstream audiences and inspiring many to deem this past summer as Brat Summer, which evolved into a very intricate web of events and chain reactions that is so large it's impossible to cover in a single conversation. So we're going to try our best by highlighting some main events that contribute to Brat and Charli's current cultural significance. And later we'll debate whether or not we think that there will be a Brat autumn. Naturally, the place to start with this is Indie Sleaze, which we've talked about before, and we referenced Charli in that episode, specifically talking about how there are modern indie sleaze girlies out there, and we picked Charli as being one of them.
We recorded that before Brat came out, right?
Before
Or
Von
no?
Dutch even came out.
Oh.
We filmed that actually the end of last year.
Oh,
So
wow.
that was not even 2024.
We were predicting, and we were kind of right.
We were. I think we understood Brat before Brat was even known
Mm-hmm.
to the public.
Mm-hmm.
And we will take pride in that and we will brag about that. People on TikTok have been predicting a return to indie sleaze as sort of the Y2K aesthetics have died down once again. People
Mm.
are grasping at the 2010s, and there's been a glorification of the hedonism and partying and drugs of that time. And in connection to music specifically, which we also talked about in the Indie Sleaze episode, pop music in particular has just become so commercialized recently, and there's just been a need for a creative reckoning in pop music for a while now, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's fair. When I was looking over the document, not to directly reference this document that the audience doesn't know what, like, has no access to, this mysterious document, um, we referenced a TikTok about Charli. She had a Subway Takes interview, and her main topic of discussion was how music isn't important. And she, of course, elaborated on that claim by stating that songs themselves, like songs on their own, don't have a lot of importance because the artist is what gives them importance. And she was also arguing that there needs to be some world building in the songs that artists put out.
I went back and watched her Zane Lowe interview that she did during the Crash era. And I think, honestly, if anybody wants to get an understanding of who she is as an artist and her thought process when creating music, that is a really good interview to just kind of get insight into who she is as a person and the way that she thinks. And based off of that interview and kind of a lot of the interviews and press that she did through Brat, she almost was overcompensating and saying that she doesn't see herself as Miss Vocalist and that she's not a strong vocalist and she's not trying to be. And so she's more interested in the marketing and the way that an artist displays their artistry to others. It's more about creating a moment, which I think is exactly what she's done through Brat.
Mm-hmm.
But that was really striking to me because when has any pop star ever said, I actually don't think that I'm a strong vocalist, but I'm still doing this because I like the world building and the creative marketing of music? That's such a Brat thing to say, I guess. She wasn't even trying to sell her vocals. If anything, she was discrediting herself in that regard. But we can
Mm-hmm.
go into the marketing later on in this conversation.
Yeah. Should we continue on with the indie sleaze thing? Because we had a lot there.
Would you consider Brat to be a part of the indie sleaze revival, or do you guys think that it's something else?
I've been thinking about this a lot because I feel like I've seen a lot of people talk about the indie sleaze revival, if there is one. And partially, I don't think there is one going on. Like, I don't think it will come to fruition as people want it to. And the only reason I say that is because sleaziness of that time just can't really be replicated because of our current societal values. Like, we're so anti drug, anti sex. Style also is very manufactured. And like that TikTok you guys quoted also about, hold on, let me click it. It's from,
Oh, the Instagram face one.
yeah, the
Yeah.
Peyton project. I don't entirely agree with what she said because I'm like, how many people actually do have Instagram face?
I think it's just influencers.
Yeah. And I think there's almost too much preference towards just influencer and celebrity culture.
You're right, because if influencers are the ones that are turning up with Instagram face, whatever that really means, and if Instagram face is preventing an indie sleaze revival from happening, then that would imply that they're the only ones capable of actually achieving some sort of indie sleaze
Yeah.
experience.
Yeah. Like indie sleaze back then as we know it was pervasive to any party scene really. Like you didn't have to be a celebrity or an influencer to like experience indie sleaze in its prime years. Like that was just kind of the experience of young adults who were experiencing parties and going out and hanging out with their friends and things like that.
Also, we decided in the indie sleaze episode that any indie sleaze revival happening right now is purely based in aesthetics, not socially or really in any other regard. It's just a visual thing.
And that's what I was thinking with Brat. Like, I don't think it was ever supposed to act as this marker for the indie sleaze revival. I think it was more just an homage to that time and an appreciation for that time, especially since it's so freeing in your artistry to make music like that.
I agree. I don't think Brat was trying to be indie sleaze at all. I think Brat exists on its own. I think it's just Charli being who Charli is, and I think people are quick to loop it into indie sleaze solely for like the party vibe. But I think they exist in different worlds. This is an obvious statement as well, based on like the impact that Brat has had so far. But I think Brat is just ushering in like a whole other era of club music, of party culture, and what have you, that again isn't as focused on nostalgia as I think the whole indie sleaze trend and the artists that have come from that are trying to do.
Charli herself has talked about that era, and she came up as an artist in underground illegal raves at that time. And then also to go back to influencers for a second, the 360 music video is basically an influencer parade. It's it girls and models serving and posing, and there's an awareness of the camera and where these images will end up that wouldn't have existed as much for someone at a party in the late 2000s or early 2010s. So Brat might be too self-aware to fall under the indie sleaze umbrella, which is fine. It just means that Brat is its own thing, as Paulina said.
Yeah, maybe honestly, like, tacking indie sleaze onto that is kind of ruining it.
We're pushing everything to fall under one label, and then everything just becomes meaningless.
I agree with that. Because there's already a lot to Brat Summer and Brat Autumn. Like, I'm a believer in Brat Autumn. Brat Autumn is upon us. And it's its own place in history now. And I find it really interesting and almost heartwarming that like people just kind of understood what Brat Summer was like instantly. Whether they were faking it and just like following the bandwagon and saying that they understood, absolute possibility for a lot of people. But I think in general, people were just like, yeah, Brat Summer, like they were on board. You didn't really have to persuade anyone, even if you don't even know who Charlie XCX is.
There was controversy though, especially with the album cover.
Oh,
People really were anti-Brat at the start.
boo! Boo, you guys.
That was genuinely shocking for me to see.
People care so much about the visuals. But I think you actually have to be dumb to like not understand how much of an impact that album cover has had, even though its design is so simplistic. And that's why it works.
It's just easy to be recreated amongst
Yeah.
fans. And honestly, I've seen more about fan made merch than I have her actual merch, which is good because then everyone can do it themselves and then it ends up everywhere.
Yeah.
But then people aren't going to buy your merch. You
Yeah.
lose out in that sense. You'd profit off of the attention.
Yeah. I mean, also, she didn't release like a ton of merch.
Mm-hmm.
Considering how long this promotional period has been for this album, she hasn't released a lot of, physical items.
For anyone that doesn't know, which I'm sure you've seen the Brat cover by now, if you haven't, it's basically black text that says Brat on top of a chartreuse background, and the text is slightly blurred. To me, I instantly understood that this was some type of rave reference, but other people hated it viscerally and were angered by it. And stan accounts, as they do, were literally requesting that she change the album cover art, which was absurd to me because based off of Von Dutch and what she was teasing on social media, it made total sense to me the direction that she was heading for this album. But then it kind of turned into this whole debate on whether or not women that make pop music have to put their face or their bodies on their visuals, their album cover art, to appeal to fans. And why is it that fans want that from women that make pop music over literally any other musician, which is a reasonable conversation to have. But I think it goes back to stan culture, which I don't know, but you guys, I've witnessed get so much more toxic within the past couple months.
Mm-hmm.
The stans are constantly at war with one another and with the people that they stan also. And it's just kind of another way for people to consume the artists that they stan.
Yeah.
The music isn't enough. They need more than that. They need the visuals. They want the album cover art. It has to be to their standard for no other reason other than that they just want it, to have it and consume
Mm-hmm.
it for themselves.
Mm-hmm. And to use it as currency against other artists, honestly. I feel like that's the point for them to do that, is to have some kind of one up against the other fandoms or whatever. And it's like sad. There's that instance with, was it the Megan Thee Stallion album cover, the one that she released, was not the one that ended up being like the final cover because her stans hated it and like pressured her to change it. Was that
Yeah, that was Megan Thee Stallion.
okay?
I've seen people weaponize the Megan Thee Stallion situation to Charli, Ariana Grande, to try to get them to change their
Oh
album cover
yeah,
art for their recent albums too.
yeah. I remember the Ariana Grande conversation as well. The Eternal Sunshine conversation. I understand that the relationship the fans have with their favorite artist is very important. I mean, commercially and just like fundamentally, but I feel like that is having a negative impact on the creation of art. Not letting artists just kind of create the image of their album however they want it. That's part of their world building. It's not like the artist directly asked, like, this was a project between the artist and the fans, like they're gonna create an album together. That's a different story. But like the artists creating everything by themselves with their creative team, that process is going to die because of this need from fans to be appealed to every step of the way. And it makes me kind of frustrated too. I'm like almost anti-stan at this point.
Specifically Twitter, that's where it happens the most, but some people are bold enough to put their whole face and body in videos where they're saying some crazy outrageous
I know.
stuff that is
I
so
know.
parasocial on TikTok as well, but mostly on Twitter.
I think that's partially because of like the monetization of Twitter. It does benefit people to say stupid shit online because they'll get money for it. But there's also a lot of stans who are genuine about the things they say. And it's really
Mhm.
concerning
Yeah.
sometimes. The whole like Taylor Swift versus Charli XCX drama was like I think another example of this toxic stan culture, cuz yes, they've existed in the same spaces, but there's no like recorded concrete interactions between these two people for them to make any sort of assumption about how they feel about each other.
I think people just wanted to be mad about something.
Yeah.
I think in 2019, Charlie opened for Taylor Swift
Yeah.
and she was asked about what that was like. And she said it was very different for her because she felt like she was performing to 5-year-olds, which people took as her calling Taylor Swift's fans a bunch of 5-year-olds, completely removing the context of the fact that Charlie's used to performing at raves at like 2
Yeah.
in the morning. So her opening for an act where there are actual children present
Oh yeah, exactly.
during the daylight is very different than what she was used to. And so
Mhm.
that misquoting circulated like wildfire and made people mad. Rightfully so, because if you don't understand the context of that, it would be, I guess, pretty insulting. And then obviously, off of Brat, Sympathy is a Knife is allegedly about Taylor Swift. People got mad about that too, not really realizing that she kind of doesn't really say anything bad about Taylor Swift in the song. She's just kind of talking about her own insecurities that she feels in spaces where she is next to the most famous and biggest pop star in the world right now.
Mhm.
Who wouldn't feel insecure or inferior?
I know, like Taylor Swift literally has 1 million aura right now.
Like, that's literally what the song is about.
Yeah, there's no diss track on Brat. There's no diss track. It's just her, like, just dishing out her feelings.
Von Dutch is the only one that could maybe be a diss track, but people are real quiet about that, so I don't know. Fangirls are the backbone of the entertainment industry, but the stans might just rip the entertainment industry to pieces.
True.
It's a blessing and a curse.
Should we talk about the vibes of Brat, the themes of Brat?
Yeah, we can. The first time I listened to it in its entirety, I was like surprised at the content of the songs. Like, I mean, not that I really knew what to expect, but surprisingly vulnerable lyrics.
Especially for an album that she pushed as being a club album.
Which I think is like her refreshing angle on it, on club music. Like, it's not just club music, it's her also using it as an outlet to flesh out some really complex feelings she's been having as an adult woman. And when I was preparing for this episode, I really was like, wow, you know, these lyrics are like so poetic. I always think about Let's Work It Out on the remix. That changed lives. That changed lives. And to have such a complicated friendship with someone and to like not know where either of you stand and to use a song to like get through it, that's so beautiful. Ugh, I'm gonna cry. Like, I'm gonna cry. That is so beautiful.
I mean, you guys know I'm a Lord girly, but
Mm-hmm.
the Girl So Confusing version with Lord feels like it completes Girl So Confusing. It
Mm-hmm.
makes the song whole having Lord's verse.
Yeah. And I was also thinking about, I think about it all the time. The very beginning of the song when she's talking about how she went to visit her friends and their child, and the line about her saying, same old clothes she wore before holding her child. How she's the same person but different now. Like, it's heartwarming for her to like talk about her friend in this way who's like a new mother. I think that's more to say about the passage of time and how motherhood changes your life from that point forward. You're never gonna live the same, but you're still that person in a way.
And then transitioning into 365 right after that,
Yeah,
which is one of my favorites off of the entire album.
bumping that. I know, the whole like we can talk about cocaine now.
Obligated
That's
to.
no, literally, that's what I was referencing about how we just don't live in a hedonistic culture very glaringly because people being surprised that celebrities do drugs.
Especially Charlie, whose whole brand is partying.
I know.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of blew my mind. I was like, yeah, that's like what the song is about, you fools. We just live in a very sexless and drugless culture right now, which, like, Fair. I have nothing really to say about that, whether it's good or bad. It's just funny that people react this way.
I think with the bluntness of the lyricism too, Charlie's been pretty honest in her music in the past, but her decision to make the actual lyrics of each song feel more conversational, as specifically text messages was what she said, as if she was just texting a friend. That was how she wanted to put everything out there. You would think being that blunt and not really using any metaphors or flowery language would hurt an album rather than help it. But it
Mm-hmm.
just works for what Brat is. It just worked for Brat. And it fed into her whole Brat persona. And again, going back to the album art and how it looks, how Brat is pixelated on the album cover, it's very digital to me.
Mm.
And having the actual lyrics be recited as if it was just reading text messages that you sent to your friend contributes to that aspect of it, where it feels like everything is through a digital screen.
Yeah. The specific references to the realities of being a woman and being a woman in the music industry, I feel like that's an ongoing trend with the pop girlies recently, just dishing out their situations and the way they've been treated. I know Taylor constantly talks about that in her music. Sabrina Carpenter, Because I Liked a Boy song, and how she was treated in the whole like Olivia Rodrigo, Joshua Bassett situation that happened a couple years ago. And then also with Chappell Roan recently about how she just gets treated in public and how people love to cross some lines and cross some boundaries. And I hope people start listening, honestly. How many girls have to say it? They're being treated wrong. Um, should we talk about the Brat Wall?
I mean, that's probably the biggest part of the marketing for this. And anytime her TikTok live popped up, live streaming the painting or repainting of the Brat Wall, there was always some crazy thing going down at the Brat Wall.
Where was it?
I don't know,
I think
actually.
LA.
I thought it was in LA
Oh.
too because there looked like there were palm trees behind it, but I feel like I saw people saying it was in Brooklyn.
I'll Google it now. But I think it was LA. Oh, wait.
Say it ain't so. Say it ain't so.
Stop. It was in Brooklyn.
Oh!
According to Nylon. Yeah.
We look like fools.
Damn.
Everyone, forget the last like minute happened.
It says, yeah, it was in Greenpoint, Brooklyn.
What the freak?
She did do in front of the Brat Wall, she did that like literal pop-up performance. She was like performing on the truck, remember?
Yeah, I thought that was in LA.
Brooklyn. Because I remember I was not home at the time and I was sad that I wasn't because I would have been there.
Well,
Well, moving on.
The Brat Wall existed on its own planet.
Yeah.
it really did. It really
Yeah.
did. It was in a different place in the Brat sphere,
Yeah.
Yeah, the Brat sphere.
the
I like that.
Bratosphere.
Oh my god. Did you guys ever play Dress to Impress?
No.
Do you know the Brat collab? The Dress to
Yeah.
Impress? Epic. It was epic. That was so like on brand, like this like fashion dress up game collabing with Brat. Beautiful addition. Really, really validated Roblox's existence, honestly. No other artist was brave enough to do it. I mean, they had Fortnite and Call of Duty. People were doing Call of Duty too. But who was doing Roblox?
Dress to Impress is just so adjacent to Charli and her interest in fashion.
I thought that was so ingenious.
The marketing really went crazy for this. And I think marketing for pop albums and just any album in general is going to change so much because of this. I don't think it can be replicated though. Like in the same way that studios keep trying to push another Barbenheimer, you can't push a moment. It's just gonna happen. And I think it's a result of Charli being interested in marketing and deciding that if she's not gonna be some pop vocal icon, then she's gonna try to make herself interesting visually and utilize her own personal artistry to the fullest.
Yeah. And I do think the success of the marketing was primed a little bit by Barbenheimer and also like years beforehand with Hot Girl Summer.
The labeling of summers, like we have to have a certain type of summer.
And it's usually feminine in nature.
We talked about this a little bit in the Girl Blogger episode where it was girl summer because of Barbie and all these pop stars like Taylor Swift and Beyonce going on tour. Everyone was wearing pink bows in their hair, wearing frilly dresses, doing the whole Lana Del Rey coquette thing. Very hyper feminine, to then transition to Brat summer where it's literally the trashy, messy party girl.
Feminine in a different way.
More unapologetically feminine, regardless of whether you're being consumable or likable to men.
Yeah.
Oh, should we talk about the 360 music video?
Oh, yeah.
I feel like that's a
I
Paulina thing.
I literally was thinking that too.
Why?
You just have the knowledge of
Yeah.
the people that were in the video,
Exactly.
and you're good with keeping track of internet characters, especially of the it girl persuasion.
Oh, thanks. Oh my God. The 360 video is a cultural reset, to use that phrase in all seriousness. I don't use that phrase lightly. It was kind of everything to me personally. Basically, Charli gathered all of the current it girls of today into a room and had them just serve as they do. And it featured Julia Fox, who she name drops in the song, as well as my personal hero, Gabriette. And who else is in it? Chloe. Thank
Chloe.
God. Thank God. Which I don't know if you guys have seen like the pull quote from Chloe was on the cover of The Cut, and they asked her about being in the 360 video, and she was like, yeah, we have a mutual friend, and they called me and was like, hey, do you want to be in Charli's video? It's a bunch of it girls and you just have to act bratty. And Chloe was like,
Very.
yeah, sure. And that's literally it. The 360 video, it's a vibe. I think it's perfectly like Charli in that sense too. Like it's her and her girlies just serving.
Oh, Emma Chamberlain.
Yes, Emma.
She's in it. Rachel Sennett.
Blizzy McGuire.
Yes.
Love her.
And Salem Mitchell.
Chloe Cherry. Alex Consani. The Queens. All the music videos went hard.
Yeah. I love the Von Dutch video.
Yeah, me too.
It's so good.
The 360 music video, like, I feel like the general public doesn't really know who these people are.
Yeah, that's fair.
By name. They may recognize them, but by name, I don't think many people know who these people are. And it kind of...
Which, can I just say, you were right about that, and I know that any stan would tear you to pieces for saying that when it is
It's
100%
true.
factual.
Yeah.
Please talk to people that aren't on the internet.
Yeah.
People I could text right now and ask, do you know who this person is? And they're in the 360 music video, and they have no clue. And that's not a dig at them. They are so popular in the specific niche of the internet. And my point is, Charli is not bringing it to be like that niche to be mainstream, but definitely puts a light on that way of life on the internet. You know what I mean? The very, like, the fashion girlies, you know?
Yeah.
I think that was a big part of what she did with this album as far as more alternative sounding music goes, because obviously this is, she said, is supposed to be club music. It's definitely not traditional pop music, and she kind of brought it to the mainstream and got people more interested in alternative club sounding music, house music even. And that was something that she talked about in the Zane Lowe interview that she did, where she explained that she decided that she wasn't going to try to do the industry pop star thing. That was basically her Sucker album, her trying to be propped up as the next pop girly, and it was really commercially successful, but she wasn't happy with the music that she was making. So that was when the whole Vroom Vroom EP and the mixtapes that she made came out, and she started diving more into hyperpop and making hyperpop. She explained that she kind of wanted to have her finger on the pulse of what was happening in the culture so that she could then go and do the opposite of that. She always wanted to be kind of on the outside of the mainstream and do something different than what everybody else was doing. That was sort of the challenge that she set up for herself. And then Brat turned out to be something where she was doing the opposite of what everybody else was doing, but it was what the culture wanted. And I think that's how she was able to get this into the mainstream, because for years now people have been nostalgic over early 2010s club songs like Britney Spears.
Early Kesha.
Exactly, like Kesha club music, basically. That's what people have been wanting. And so finally it came to a point where her doing the opposite of what everybody else was doing ended up being the thing that people wanted, and it worked out in her favor. I don't know why I said that, but you said something that reminded me of that, so.
I appreciate that you said it.
It's important to note. Okay, so Kamala Harris, 2024, Brat campaign.
Well, for starters, as we said, because the Brat album was pretty simple, it got recreated by fans a lot. And naturally, when people on the internet are doing something and making something a trend, brands catch on and start doing it too. And because of the stans making Kamala Harris edits to Brat songs, some may argue that that is what led to Joe Biden inevitably dropping out of the presidential race and Kamala being endorsed for the Democratic slot.
He was the one who actually proposed making...
He had it planned all
Oh,
along.
I firmly believe that, but we're not going to get into PSYOP corner.
Yeah, the actual politics of it all. But to a certain extent, as people have been saying, we memed our way into the Democratic ticket looking the way that it does now. But because people made their Kamala Harris edits and associated her with Brat, which is honestly fitting because Apple as a song, it matches Kamala Harris's whole coconut tree metaphor. Because people made Kamala Harris edits to Brat songs, Charli tweets out that Kamala is Brat. Kamala's campaign then used the Brat aesthetics in their header. This is crazy. Could you imagine hearing these words like last year?
I know. They are inextricably tied.
Mm-hmm. I would say everything that was happening was leading up to the Kamala is Brat tweet and the header happening. Although the header is gone now because it's the Trump tweet that says, "Is she talking about me?" It says that instead.
I know, that's
now.
Actually so funny.
That's their header.
That is so funny.
This is so unserious.
His Truth Social post.
It's funny to talk about how pop stars, they're not being used as pawns, but they're so influential in politics now, and I don't know if that's a good thing. I don't know if it's a bad thing.
Well, the other thing with Charli is she's English. I don't know if she has American citizenship, so she can't vote as far as I know.
No.
But she has a very large American audience.
Yeah.
And they're playing into that. I mean, and also with the Taylor Swift endorsement, like, they're playing into this, like, culture to get young voters to vote. It's just interesting to notice how politics is just, like, weaving in the pop girlies in some way. This is a political podcast now.
It was a large part of Brat Summer.
It was an integral part, because no one expected it, really. But having possibly the first female president weave in Brat, like, that was Brat. And also, I wanted to say, you are considered a darling of the public if you are made into a fan cam with, like, 360. Like, I'm thinking of Jack Schlossberg here.
He was enjoying Brat Summer. He was having a Brat Summer.
He's always been having a Brat Summer, I think. An eternal Brat Summer for Jack.
Mm-hmm.
And Challengers.
Challengers was definitely the prerequisite to Brat Summer. Because I think people were saying it was going to be a Challenger Summer until Brat dropped. Then it was a Brat Summer. And I think we should have had both at the same time. I wish Challengers came out later on in the year so that they could have coincided with each other more. Because that would have been outrageous. But maybe we're just not ready for that as a society. It might have been too messy.
I think it might have been too much. I think they maybe needed to exist at different times. I have a little anecdote to share with the class. I said earlier in the episode that it doesn't take much for people to understand Brat Summer, but I have the phone case. This is another part of the marketing, actually. I have the Wildflower collaboration phone case, and I was in class, and I just had it on my desk, and my professor was handing out paper and going around the class, and he was like, "What is that?" pointing to my phone case. And I was like, oh, you know Brat? And he was like, oh, like Brat Summer? And like had the biggest smile on his face and just like walked away. Like he
Yes.
understood.
I wanted to ask you guys what you think about NATO posting the word peace using the Brat generator.
Oh my god. I think I said this to you guys and I was like, we are so fucked. Like, we're so fucked.
Like, I don't know if that was very tasteful of them.
Not at
but
all.
No. I fear, given the current political state of the world, I don't think that was the smart thing to do, personally.
We've
The
lost
social
the
media
plot.
intern had to post something for their shift that day, so.
I think there were instances of companies or brands or organizations missing the mark on using Brat for something because they're trying to get in on the trend, and then people would just sort of be like, okay, Brat Summer's over now, you just ruined it. I think that happened a couple times throughout the summer, but the NATO one was probably the most recent of that happening. And then shortly after, Charli was like, Brat Summer's over, it's September now, which I would like to say it's still summertime.
Yeah.
We have not had the fall equinox yet. It is still summer.
I'm a fall equinox truther.
I am too.
She's just trying to stay ahead of the calendar. Like, when September 21st rolls around, like, people will be like, oh my god, like, is there Brat Autumn? Like, people are gonna be scrambling. Like, she wants to be ready.
They needed a transitional period.
Yeah, they need a little bit of guidance before that time.
Tierney, you are a Brat Autumn truther.
I am.
Why is that? It's just a feeling.
It's a feeling. I mean, also, there's a little document that we have that says on October 11th, there's a special album coming out.
The remix album. That's been announced now.
As if, like, she told us first.
Yeah, she called us up.
We were on an embargo, information embargo, and you couldn't say anything. But she said, you guys record the podcast, you guys couldn't say it. But then she announced beforehand because we didn't have a date in mind for the podcast recording. So, surprise! Yeah, so that's freaking exciting. It's fun to have 15 more songs. You know what I mean? Like, let's keep the good vibes going, you know? Brat Autumn isn't an if, it's definite.
Plus, with the Sweat tour, Brat is still ongoing. Yeah. Brat is still very much alive and breathing.
It isn't over until the next album is out. Like, let's be honest here.
We'll see if after the equinox she tweets Brat Autumn or something. We'll see.
She has plans. There's something cooking.
She is always 7 steps ahead from where we even think she is.
I agree. Polly, do you want to say something about how Brat Autumn might coincide with latest fall-centric cores?
I forgot about that. Yeah. I do think it's going to be interesting to see how, if and when Brat Autumn is upon us, how it coincides with the usual fall chorus that are like frazzled Englishwoman and back to school. It's 2 different energies, which is why I also would like to be a Brat Autumn truther, but I am skeptical just because how will it exist among the vibes of fall?
I agree, but I also agree with both of you. I think there will be a Brat Autumn, but I think it will be short-lived because of that. Because people like the cold, crispy autumn vibes and aesthetics. People usually take it to a dark academia, Harry Potter place. So,
and like, hey, everyone has 2 sides to them, you know?
Inside you there are 2 wolves. And they're kissing.
I do think there'll be some form of a Brat Autumn, but I don't think it will have a lot of longevity.
Yeah. Because then the Brat Winter is upon us. And
Brat Winter is messed up. That's a place I don't think I want to go. That sounds really twisted.
I need some light in this darkness during that time.
That's true.
And I will grasp onto anything I can.
I do think, not to sound insane and delusional, but I do think there is an impending wave that will be both HS4 and Lord 4. I do think those are upon us.
HS4, thank God.
And CR2. Chaperone 2. And LG7.
Gaga.
Oh, right. I'm like Liam Gallagher. Anyways. What does Brat Summer mean? What does this mean for the culture? What does it mean for the world?
All I know is that the A push DBQ's just gonna be a question about Brat.
It is honestly pretty insane to have this tied to a political campaign.
I know.
It is historical.
Mm-hmm.
What do you guys think about the Grammys? Will Charli finally get her nod 10 years later?
I hope so.
I would like to say yes, but I don't think it will.
She got snubbed at the
Yeah.
VMAs, which is
She
shocking.
really did, now that I think about it. Oh my god.
It was a cultural phenomenon. Maybe it was just an internet thing.
No, I swear it wasn't. I swear.
It was the entire summer. And the VMAs is the pop culture convention, basically.
Yeah.
So if it's not acknowledged at the pop culture convention, will it be acknowledged at the Grammys?
I hope so. I really hope so.
I'm rooting for Album of the Year.
Yeah, me too. That'd be so epic.
How does one wrap up Brat?
I know. Well, that was our return from our hiatus. I don't know if you guys noticed.
Would you rather dress up as the Dare or Charlie XCX for Halloween?
Probably the Dare, honestly, because
I
it's a more
agree.
simpler
Yeah.
outfit. We never talked about the Dare. He's a crazy guy, that guy. Did you guys listen to his album? I did.
I have
Yes.
not. Oops.
You'll love it. You'll love it.
I'm sure I would. I'm sure I would.
He's a different episode.
He is. Honestly,
Yeah.
He's a friend of this episode, but he's a different episode.
We'll cook something up.
Mm-hmm. We see you, Mr. the Dare.
Who do you guys hope will feature on the remix album?
There was Caroline Polachek on Apple rumors, which I think would be pretty
That would be
cool, especially because Charlie remixed Welcome to My Island.
Yeah.
I mean, Lord would be it for me, and we got it.
Yeah.
I think probably Taylor Swift is going to be on Sympathy is a Knife, and I don't know how I feel about that.
I was gonna say Taylor, but I feel like she won't be on it. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know, bro. I don't know. It's just all too crazy. I just don't know if I could take it.
I don't know if it would ever happen, but I think Lana would be pretty crazy.
Put her on Mean Girls.
Exactly, the Mean Girls name drop.
I was gonna say like SZA. I feel like would be kind of cool.
Mm-hmm. The Dare.
The Dare. Yeah, we need featuring the Dare.
Bring Britney Spears back. I'm casting my ballot on that one.
Featuring Jack Antonoff.
Taylor's
Oh my
version.
God.
Taylor's version. Oh my god. Sympathy is a Knife, Taylor's version.
That's literally what it's gonna be. I swear to God, that's what it's gonna be.
Oh my god, Biba Doobie.
That would make sense.
George
Yeah.
Daniel.
George
Daniel.
Daniel.
I'm sure George produced something that's gonna be on it. I mean, literally, we can just riff off any pop girly and be like, oh my
Yeah.
God, she's gonna be on it. Because, like, she's gonna get the pop girlies.
Yeah, so that was our discussion about Brat Summer. Hope you guys enjoyed, and there'll be more to come.
Enjoy your Brat
Yeah,
Autumn.
enjoy your Brat Autumn.
Brattum.
Bratum. Wait. Bratum.
Brawl. Okay. Signing off.